Autophagy is a really fantastic process where our body starts to preferentially break down certain cells to use as building blocks when we're not getting nutrients into our system. So when we're eating regularly, we're in what's called a metabolic state. Our body recognizes that there's lots of food coming in, lots of nutrients. It gets digested in our gut. Little building blocks of that food get released into our bloodstream, circulate around the body, and the body recognizes that it's got plenty of resources to build what it needs to build, to keep our bodies functioning, to keep our cells regenerating. If there's extra calories in what we take in, then our body stores that. It's another evolutionary thing. It puts it away for use later if we may go into that fasted state. And so that often gets packed away in the form of fat, which is why we get fat if we eat too much in excess of our calorie requirements. And so when we go into the fasted state, though, our body recognizes that we don't have as much nutrients coming in. It recognizes that we're not putting these building blocks into our system. And so it starts to go looking around the system for cells that it might be able to break down to then liberate those little building blocks of things, say, for instance, the building blocks of our proteins in our body, a thing called amino acids, need to be broken down, liberated, so we can use them in a good fashion to build new cells. And that's this autophagy process. When our body recognizes that nutrients aren't coming in, because we're in the fasted state, it goes from that metabolic state, where we're just building things all the time with what's coming in, to what's called a catabolic state. It starts to hunt around our body and look for cells that it can break down to liberate these building blocks that it needs to use to keep our systems functioning at an optimal level. Now, the beauty of autophagy is that it will preferentially break down bad cells. So it doesn't just go around the system breaking down any old cells to get these building blocks. It will look preferentially for cells that aren't functioning optimally. So cells that might be a little bit damaged, cells that are getting a bit older and moving more towards that apoptosis, that programmed cell death, so older cells that aren't functioning as well, infected cells, and also cells that are starting the process of mutation towards diseases that might cause Alzheimer's disease, that might be pre-cancerous states, or even cancer-infected cells. Some studies are suggesting that autophagy has a role as an adjunct in treatment of certain cancers. There's other studies suggesting that regular fasting might indeed prevent certain cancers establishing themselves in our body through this process, because our body will go around, it'll hunt these damaged cells, these infected cells, these pre-cancerous cells, and it will release those good bits from those cells as building blocks. So autophagy is another really powerful side effect of intermittent fasting, and we only click into that when we stop putting the nutrients into our body and go into that fasted state.